What is up, my APUSH people? I am here today to give you a very quick explanation for the types of what are called short answer questions, or SAQs for short, that you'll be working with all school year as well as on the actual AP exam that you'll take at the end of our school year. So, real quick, this is going to be helpful for an introduction to expose you to what it takes to grapple with these questions, but also what kind of questions you can expect to see, because this type of format will carry us through all of our exams during the school year, a bunch of our exam preparation, and will play a heavy role in your AP score that you will receive for taking your test in May. Now, the short answer questions are counted for 20% of your AP exam final score, so it's a pretty big chunk of your actual test score. And there's 3 of them that you're going to answer. So I'm not a math teacher, shockingly. But if the short answer questions are 20% of the test and there's only 3 of them, that means that each question by itself is about 7%. So in that way, it's a pretty heavy influencer on how we'll do on the actual AP test. So like I said, you're going to do 3 of them, and they're always going to follow the exact same format. Now, I'll show you all 3 today. And another one that you're going to work on first is, in fact, the third of these types, but I want, very importantly, for you to understand kind of why I'm going to keep exposing you to these types of questions and what you should do to answer them effectively. So the first kind, which will come first, looks just like this here on my screen. And what it's going to do is it's going to ask you to be a historian. It's going to ask you to make some interpretations. It's going to ask you to be supporting existing arguments within the school of history. And one of the fascinating things about history is that we all, for the most part, that study history, we agree on what happened, right? Understanding what happened is just the base of history study and history exploration. The challenges then become in deciding why they happened, right? On the front end, or on the back end, the so what, okay? So what's the big deal? What's the consequences? What are the effects? So what you'll do in this first question is you're going to read 2 existing historians, usually very well-known historians, people that nerds like me pay attention to, which is okay. Join me. Be a nerd. It's fun. You're going to read 2 perspectives that differ in their interpretation of a specific event, right? So maybe one says blank was the cause of World War II, and the other says, no, blank was the cause of World War II. And what you're going to do, you're going to read just a little excerpt, and what you're going to be asked to do is what I call thesis identification. Right? What is this person arguing? What do they have to say? Right? Your job is not to decide who is right or wrong. Right? That's not the way this works. Your job is simply to read both excerpts, and in part A, you're always going to be asked, what is the difference in their interpretation? Right? They took the same event, they interpreted it. How do they differ in what they say? So to answer a question like this, you need to kind of understand what you're doing. Be a strong reader, and have enough understanding of the historical background to be able to decipher what it is they're saying. That's part A. Part B will always be, okay, cool. You got the thesis down for part A. Do you have other historical evidence that backs up this historian, that backs up this author? What else do you know that proves this person's point? Right? So here's where you're going to be asked to rely on your historical knowledge, what I call SFI, specific factual information. What else do you know that would support this individual's argument? All right, and then for part C, you'll do the exact same thing for the second historian. All right, so these questions are fun. These questions get you to think at a higher level about history, because you're not just reading a textbook, but you're reading historians' arguments that are based in their own study. And one of the best preparations for this that I can give you are those historian essays, those secondary sources that I ask you to read pretty consistently that prepare you for this type of reading and this type of work. So that's the first kind. You're going to read it, you're going to decide what the difference is in their arguments, and then you're going to back up both individuals' historical argument. That's the first one. The second question will always be based off of some sort of visual. Now, a visual can be anything you don't have to read. So it can be a map. It can be a chart like this one. It could be a table. Very, very commonly, it is a political cartoon, which we'll spend plenty of time on this year. Or it could be a piece of propaganda or a poster or the like. So you're going to be asked, you're going to be shown some sort of a visual source. And just like number one, you're going to answer a part A, you're going to answer a part B, and you're going to answer a part C. All right, that's going to ask you, like a historian would, to take this source, this visual source, and make some meaning from it. Maybe talk about what's the cause of the source, maybe talk about what the source impacts. And you'll get a lot of practice with these here as well. The last kind is what I call stimulus-free, which means it's just a question by itself. There's no text attached, there's no visual attached, you don't have to do a dance or listen to a song. You just have to read the question and answer the question. And the nice part for this part of the actual test is that you'll have a choice, right? They're going to ask you one question that would come from our first semester's content. So period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through Reconstruction in 1877 when that ends. That's our first semester content. That'll be your first option. Your second option will be from our second semester's worth of content. All right, so you'll just pick which topic am I stronger on, answer that question. You always have a choice, though, on the test. Now, I won't always give you a choice on our test because I like to ensure that I'm giving a fair test to everybody. But on an actual AP test or any full practice test that we'll take, you will have a choice between 3 or 4, but both questions are going to be asking the same type of question. And what this means is it's just a very straightforward A, B, and C. Do you know this? Can you answer it? So we'll look at this one, number 3 on the first time. What is a difference between the ideas of Republican motherhood and Seneca Falls? Right? You don't know what either of those things are yet, and that's fine. But what you will know soon are both of them, and you'll be able to differ on the way in which they view, in this case, women. And then you're going to be asked what's the similarity between the two. All right? In general, these things are seen as very different ideals on what a woman should be in society. But what are the difference? What are the similarities in the way they look at women? And then you're going to be asked for the third part, what is one effect of one or the other? Right? So in this case, as long as you understand Republican motherhood and what happened at Seneca Falls, both attempts to advance the role of women in society, then you will be able to answer this question with ease. So those are the 3 styles of questions. Eventually, you'll be asked to answer all 3 of them in 40 minutes, so it's pretty quick paced. What you want to do here is you want to use 2 to 3 sentences for each little element. So part A, you want to give yourself 2 or 3 sentences. Part B, 2 or 3 sentences. And part 3, 2 or 3 sentences to ensure that you are not just stating the answer, but explaining why that's the answer. Okay? So I hope this was helpful. And I look forward to doing a whole bunch of SAQs with you this school year.